Sure. I'm Alex Cummings. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of FlowPath, a software designed specifically for single person and small team facilities managers and building operators. I'm joined with the CTO, Brandon and Griffin, and I'll pass it to Brandon to give a quick little intro of his background.
Hey everyone, I'm Brandon. I'm the CTO of FlowPath. I've been a software developer for almost a decade. I'm also a data scientist, and I will pass it to Griffin.
Yep, my name is Griffin. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer heading the sales for FlowPath. Been in sales in a variety of different organizations for the last decade. And yeah, the three of us founded FlowPath here last year.
Yep. And so a little bit more about me. I came from the operations world. I was in kind of business development, strategy, and product management with a couple of startups. I went to Lyft in the operations role, the rideshare company. I was using software within that company to do my job that was just not at all useful. It was a maintenance management tool, operations management, facility management tool, but what I really needed was something a little bit more useful for the small team. This was kind of an enterprise level software that was being just forced down my throat. And it was just, square peg in a round hole kind of thing. And so I thought we could do a lot better. And this particular company was like a Y Combinator company. And so like highly regarded technology, but just not very useful for kind of the smaller teams. And so when we got the opportunity to come together and my brother and Griffin and I to build a company, we decided to go the route that would be a little bit more useful for the single person and small teams. And we found great success with customers using this and building it and scaling it and learning from that experience. And so going into a little bit of what we look at and what I talk about, like the small team needs to be focused on essentially 6 different things. And what we look at is this process. And so we have just kind of a single slide here that represents how we view just the work order process. Our platform is kind of centered around how you manage the work order. And so we'll jump into the platform in a second, but what you look at starting in number 1 there is just the ability to seamlessly connect to the system and create a work order. So just raise your hand and say, hey, something needs to happen here. So the work order is created either in a single instance or you're doing a repeating work order for like preventative maintenance or something that needs to be repeated over time. And then the second thing that person is going to be doing is managing the accountability for that specific object of work. So is that an email that's come in traditionally or a text message or a phone call, or do I walk around and see something? How am I going to delegate out who needs to take care of it? And then how am I going to keep up with that? And typically you're going to see that's going to be using some form of equipment, some form of inventory, and then you're going to potentially have a form of purchase order management involved with fixing that system or that work order. And so moving on to number 4, you always see the stakeholder management. So going into, okay, we're now starting to fix that problem. We a lot of times have an internal team that's fixing it, or we're bringing in external vendors. And traditionally, nobody is talking with that work order, talking with that repository of data to say, this is the history of what's happened up to this point. Here's how we're communicating seamlessly within the same piece of software. Usually it's a very disjointed, hey, we're calling, we're text messaging, we're emailing back and forth. Nothing is captured all in the same place. So we fixed that. And then what that allows you to do, keeping everything in one place, it allows you to pull out actionable insights and make strategic decisions based off of the data that you're able to pull and run in the reporting that we have. And then again, the running of the reporting also helps the accounting aspect. So you can export that data and send it over to accounting, send it over to a central system if they're not connected, or even maybe some form of a small business accounting software tool if we do not connect with it. And so these are the 6 things from start essentially to accounting, how we view just the work order management process. And what we found when we were talking to prospective clients, they typically used a different tool along each of these 6 steps of the process. And so we took kind of the best aspects of computerized maintenance management software, facilities management software, and kind of internal workplace management solutions, like 3 major core aspects of building management tools. Pieced them together and then put our own spin on the work order management process and really eliminated 6 different tools to be able to do your job and just put it into one concise piece of software. And we think it's pretty great. And so with that, I'll jump into just kind of what it looks like and how we go through these 6 steps within the platform itself. And so on this home screen here, this is the home of FlowPath. And so you've got a simple nav bar on the left to right. your simple, got a home screen, you've got contacts, assets, and reports. So the purpose of this is for the small team just to have everything they need and nothing they don't, and for it not to be overcomplicated with reporting or analytics or nothing too much in your face. What we really wanted to do was highlight just the project management aspect of the work order. So on the left-hand side here on the pending are incoming work order requests, or things that need to be scheduled. Things that are in the middle are scheduled. They can be dragged and dropped. It's very easy user interface experiences, and same thing with completed. You can view these in very different ways. We found that different customers like to see the kind of project management approach here. We integrate with Google Calendars, and some people want to see it in the calendar view for when I'm scheduling. It can also be dragged and dropped around. Some people just like list views. And so if there's a list of all the work orders that you want to do, maybe that helps prioritize with your team. And you can say, okay, I can sort and filter out what I want to do by location, by severity, any other type of data that's captured within the work order. You can sort it out and filter through what you want to do and when. Within the work order itself is kind of the heart and soul of where all the data is captured. And so on the right-hand side, you can have the ability to tag different levels of severity. You can tag which locations it belongs to. If there's any tenants involved, if you're managing a commercial real estate space. You can add equipment, and you can add pictures, you can add accounting. All of the things are all in one spot. So as I was saying, all of these disparate pieces of information and technologies that never connected, the Excel sheets, the texting, everything else, we now capture it here. And if it's captured in the system, you're going to be able to pull a report on it later. And one of the cool features here that you can do is really communicate, which is the biggest thing that we find is a problem for all of our clients, is the communication. Communication channels tend to be multiple channels and not just one. So here you can just tag somebody with their username or email, and their name pops up, and you can say, okay, hey, Brandon at flowpath.com, I added that expense. And then you click save, and that's where, okay, that's going to be added to the line of the history here, and Brandon's going to get notified that I added the expense up here, and we can go back and forth saying, okay, thanks for that. I'm going to give it to accounting, whatever it may be. You can also share this work order with external vendors. Again, they don't need sign-in. They don't need to be a part of the system. If my HVAC guy comes out and he does some work for my PMs once a quarter, he can now, with this link, upload photos, upload any invoice, upload any warranties straight to this work order, and that's capturing the history of their work. So I can come back to it later, or if the FM role turns over, there's a history established with that particular piece of equipment, that particular piece of building, whatever it may be. So it's super useful there. Another big thing is we capture all of the current vendors that you have at your building, so who you're using. But we also have the ability, and connected with Service Channel's fixed book, to give you access to search for 45,000 plus different vendors across America. So if you need somebody to repave your parking lot, redo your roofing, frost any of your windows, you can search for them. You can see what their reliability score is, and you can ensure that they have all of their proper certificates and insurances on hand to come do work for you. So this is a big plus if you're expanding your network across different states or cities. You now have a built-in vendor network here if you don't already have one. And so that saves a ton of time. On the equipment piece, we capture equipment. We also capture your inventory. And so it's a very easy upload for onboarding when we're getting you started. We can have a CSV file of all of your equipment and all of your inventory, and we can just upload it, and that gets you rolling. Really, we can capture photos of equipment. We have QR codes that you can assign to pieces of equipment, so you can print them out, stick them on that equipment or that inventory bin, and you can just easily scan it with your phone and say, okay, add this to a work order or update this inventory amount, and then attach it to a work order, whatever it may be. This is expense, this is not. And so it also, by pieces of inventory or by equipment, you can see, okay, here's my QR code, here's my inventory counts. You can see associated work orders. So over time, you'll be able to say, okay, this piece has been used on this many pieces of equipment over time, and I can do now analytics on it. And so that basically at a high level covers equipment and inventory. And sorry, I've got a big screen, so I keep looking left to right here. On the reportables page, this is one of the most powerful features of the tool, and we're getting into steps 5 and 6 of that cycle now. to where we can run reports on any piece of data that's captured in this system. So I can see completed work orders over time, and I can filter reporting to say, okay, I want this location, this piece of equipment during this period of time. What are my break rates? How much money am I spending? What are my repeated schedules? How on time am I with my PMs? Are they going off as planned? Are they not? And then same thing with inventory. Okay, what are my inventory costs for a period of time? Is it more than planned? Is it not? A lot of times we find clients don't even have the ability to capture this prior history. So formulating budgets going forward is almost impossible. And so a lot of FM budgets and potentially even construction budgets, if you're trying to justify to managers or your bosses, okay, I need this much money to maintain at least just a static level of reliability across our facility. And this is why, like, now you can prove it. It's because in the last 6 months, the toilets have broken this many times. HVAC has cost us this much. Fire inspections are costing us this much. And you'll be surprised at how many people don't have a reliable way of capturing all that information to do forward planning and cost analysis. And some of the major things here that you can do as well is you can schedule reports. So I can get monthly expendable reports on my inventory. I can get monthly expense reports for accounting. I can do it by work order, and it can be scheduled to be emailed to you at your interval of choice. And so this is kind of the brain of the whole system, where we allow you and not charge you by number of work orders or reports pulled or any amount of information that you need. It's all available at your fingertips to make those strategic decisions for your business. And so that covers just about everything that we have as like a tool here. And so that's full steps 1 through 6, communication all the way through the reporting and accounting piece. Within the settings page, what we do is we add locations and we assign users to location. We believe that it's not a matter of how many square footage are under management, how many users that you have. It's strictly just by location. And so we can assign users to location. Those users have privileges and they're assigned preferences for notifications and everything else. They can be assigned to different groups. We've got categories for equipment. If you want, and this is really for the reporting piece. So if you have a special thing that you want to have reported every couple of weeks or whatever period of time that may be, you can set a category for it. And then our integrations. I mentioned Google Calendar. Communication, typically on the techier side of the house with Slack. QuickBooks is coming, and we do email and text message notification through Twilio. So it's very easy to communicate. And then we have a new tenant portal here to where it helps manage on the commercial real estate side, the inbound requests from all of your tenants or tenant companies, and the ability to communicate with them. They can track progress, the reports of what they submitted, etc. So a lot of good things here, and I just said a lot, so I'll stop there, Carl, and kind of let that sink in.
No, that's a lot of really great information. And actually, I wrote out a list of questions as you were talking, but it looks like you answered most of them as you continued talking. So that was perfect. No, I think that's really fantastic. A couple of questions that did come up that maybe you can just expound upon. So with a license, let's just say, how many people have access to it? Do you need to have a license as a user in order to access this, or can you have one license and several people can log in, or vendors can log in? How's that work?
Yeah, no, good question. The way that we view it is by location, and that can have almost an unlimited number of users for that location. And that includes vendors, outside vendors servicing those locations. So if you've got a list of 60 people that come to your building over a period of a year, they can all come in to that work order, add their notes for the maintenance being done, and you won't be charged for that. It's a simple flat rate fee by location.
Got it. And then if you're tasking a maintenance person to perform work, do they receive a email and text notification, or do they get all the notifications through this platform, or all the above? How's that work?
Yeah, a little bit of all the above, and we let you decide. So you can kind of check the preferences. Would you want your vendors notified? If you've got their contact information in there, they can be emailed, text messaged. Okay, you've been put on a work order that says, hey, toilets are broken, and that automatically notifies the plumber company. Or if you've got a facility tech on hand, hey, they're notified that a new work order has been submitted from one of the tenants. And you can set it to be at different levels. So if you have a certain threshold of expense associated with a work order, hey, my tech says that $500 needs to be spent on this one. That can be then notified and lifted up to a more senior position user in the system.
Got it. And how does your system handle, different priorities? I think you touched upon it a little bit earlier, but, I'm sure, a wall that needs to get painted versus, a water line that broke, obviously has different priority ratings. How does that work with your system?
Yeah, absolutely. So priorities associated with different clients are going to be kind of user specific. So we allow the ability for you to go in and set your own priorities and within your preferences as well as within the work order. So you can establish what lines of threshold you're going to use when you're creating that work order. So if a work order comes in, you can identify low, medium, high levels of severity and write your own thresholds for that. You can also include different categories. And so the categories don't need to just be kitchen or hood or a piece of equipment. It could also be like by a priority level that's slightly more nuanced than just low, medium, or high, for instance. But those can be tagged onto the work order. And one of the other things that we did, you'll notice that this one's red, the work order in the top left here. That's because this work order with the little clock, and as it passed a period of time, Brandon, what that period of time is now, we
So yeah,
tweaked that a second
it's
ago.
customizable as well, but it's 24 hours for the high priority. If nothing's happened to that work order, it gets escalated to the top, and then the admins get notified.
Yeah. So it's a really intuitive system. Hey, we've got a high priority thing, and if for some reason it's not touched and nobody gets to it, we're gonna kind of bubble that up to the top and make sure that you know about it.
Yeah. And I'm sure you're also probably measuring response time of different maintenance professionals, right? So if something takes a week or is typically taking way longer than what's normal at average, you can kind of maybe even localize that, say, hey, there's a certain maintenance team perhaps that isn't on top of it as much as everybody else, right?
Absolutely. And that's one of the core things that you want to be able to flush out, of that analysis piece is what, on my repair side, what am I having a lot of problems with and what am I not having a lot of problems with? Which vendors are servicing me reliably and giving me good work history, showing me completed photos if they're coming in after hours or submitting the right invoices on time, and that you're going to be able to flush all that information out, which is great.
Yeah. So if I owned a maintenance company, I was hired by a client to manage their portfolio of properties, is there, and I think you talked a little bit about this, but like restricted access or access control where there's an owner view or a client view where they have access to maybe limited amount of information, but a high level amount of information that they need to see to manage their portfolio?
Yeah. I'll let Brandon jump into this because he is the master at the details of that particular setting.
Yeah, and so there's actually 4 separate views, but really the highest level is you have a full admin that sees the entire world. And then we've really simplified the view down on a, per location or, someone that's on sites. If they only need to worry about what's going on in their building or their tenant, that's all they're going to see. And, we give you the ability to customize that view in your settings for those user roles.
Got it. That's great. Is this platform, if not currently on the roadmap, to have like mobile integration as far as being able to use mobile apps with this?
So this was one of Brandon's great kind of points at the beginning of when we started, that we didn't want to be reliant upon a mobile app to be concurrent and up to date across everybody's phones in your organization. So we created it as a web-based application. So it's a login on the system or on the website, and you don't have to worry about it being updated. You don't have to worry about having the most current version, and everybody can automatically be on the same page. Now, will that turn into an app down the road? That could be, if that is something that we find to be beneficial. But right now, to make sure that 100% this is usable for everybody, we want this to be very user accessible, and so we've gone with the web-based app.
And just to let you know, a web-based app means it's accessible via mobile, iPads, anything. We have customers right now that are using their phones, iPads, desktops, and it's really anything that can have a browser on it. It's that device is capable of running it. And so everything is totally usable from a mobile perspective, an iPad perspective, a laptop, or a desktop.
Yeah, that's great. So if I'm a maintenance professional, as long as I have a Wi-Fi connection or I'm connected to some sort of cell tower through my phone or iPad, I can access this and update information, receive updates.
Yep, absolutely.
Exactly.
As far as, I guess, so you receive your, let's just say, tickets from your tenant portal. What does that tenant portal look like? And if I'm somebody that owns a property or a handful of properties and I manage my stuff through a website, how does that interact with maybe a customer-facing website or tenant-facing website?
Yeah, so the tenant portal for us right now it's in its infancy, but at the core, it's meant to communicate seamlessly with your tenants. And it's meant to be a good way of inputting their work order requests into the system and you communicating back to them. Over time, we're going to have the ability to integrate more functionality within the tenant portal to maintain. We have currently the ability to maintain documents for them. So if you've got contracts or certificates of insurance that you want to manage, or if you want to send all of your tenants notices, hey, we can post all these things here. That's currently doable. Over time, other options that we could potentially integrate are things like payment facilitation for rents and other integrations that might be, super useful. Right now, it's essentially them logging in. They kind of look like they have a very simplified user UI, so they can submit things on the tenant level.
Okay, got it. And say I'm either a new developer that's developing some properties, or I've been a established developer that already have a handful of properties. How does somebody get started with FlowPath?
Getting started with us is very, very simple. It's reaching out to us at info@getflowpath.com or signing up for a demo on our website. You can even just sign up if you want to jump right into the account, and we'll reach out to you because we'll see if you sign up. And so it's a very simple process. We'd walk you through what the platform has to offer. We talk to you about how we do onboarding and how simple it is. A lot of people are concerned with what the hurdle of getting all your information into the system is and getting that spread across intelligently across your network and your team. We do a lot of the hands-on training to make sure that you're going to be set up for success when you roll it out. And we found with our customers that it's actually not as daunting as they think, and it usually takes much less amount of time initially to get it set up and operating, and then we provide that ongoing support and customer support.
That's excellent. Yeah, I think that's, as far as questions are concerned, I think that's all the ones I really want to touch upon.
Sure.
I guess if my last question would be, kind of what's your sweet spot as far as size and scope of portfolio? Can you handle, portfolios of any size, or is there a specific size developer or property manager you're really looking to kind of key into?
Yeah. And so that's a great clarification to make, because the point I made about us being a single person and small team operations software doesn't mean that we cannot scale. And so we purposely built it in a kind of like a Lego block approach to where you can stack these things on top of each other, location after location after location, and still have the functionality across those levels. And then we've built in that level of user preferences to be able to kind of take that step back on the umbrella approach and the master level view associated with pulling those analytics for subordinate locations. We can go from anything from one location all the way up to, we've talked to organizations with 100 plus, and we'd be able to manage all of the requirements of those systems. While our sweet spot was originally designed to be, you are the single person operator and maybe you manage one or two facilities engineers, or you manage just a lot of vendors and you're on your own and you're mostly mobile because you're running around helping tenants or you're doing something. This is the system for you, but it can also be used on an enterprise level.
Awesome.
That's what really sets us apart. We just to kind of toot our own horn, I guess, a little bit, we built that from the ground up purposely to be for the useful tool for that single person that needs to interact with the system. And going back to my pain points in my previous role, I was using an enterprise tool that was super not mobile friendly. When I was trying to download information or my inventory and try to re-upload it, I needed different formats of Excel documents and it never worked right. And so it was just ultra frustrating. And so at that single person level where the boots meet the ground, like this is ultra user friendly. And then it can also extrapolate itself back up into that central administrative function as well across multiple locations if it needs to.
Got it. Yeah, no, that's super helpful. And maybe just to touch upon one more time, what's the best way to get in contact if people are interested in learning more?
Yeah, it's info@getflowpath.com. Or you can go to our website, reach out via LinkedIn, hit us up on Twitter, getflowpath.com. Getflowpath.com. It's also a very easy website to get to. We've got a one pager that you can download on there, and you can also book a demo. And we're very, very accessible. And also, if you just want to reach out to us directly, it's our first names at getflowpath.com. So Alex, Brandon, or Griffin at getflowpath.com.
Awesome. Well, Alex, Brandon, and Griffin, I really appreciate your time today. Thanks for walking me through FlowPath.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great having us. Thanks, Carl.
Yep. Thanks,
Thank
Carl.
you, Carl.